The day began like any other, with the sun rising over Earth's blue skies. But as the morning stretched on, something strange appeared on the horizon, something enormous and impossible. First, it was just a tiny flicker, barely visible through telescopes and satellites. But then the world's greatest observatory screamed alerts as gigantic ships emerged from the darkness of space, casting deep shadows that swallowed entire cities in a chilling eclipse. These ships were unlike anything humanity had ever seen, towering, metallic behemoths with surfaces that shimmered with a strange, shifting light, and their silence was terrifying. No one knew what to expect. But soon, the reality hit harder than any bomb. The alien fleet was here to conquer. Broadcasts flooded every screen, in every language, but their message was cold and clear: surrender or perish. The aliens demanded Earth's complete submission, a demand no nation was ready to accept. Panic swept the globe as governments scrambled to organize defenses. But the usual alliances frayed under pressure. Leaders whispered in secret meetings, weighing the impossible odds. The world's military forces mobilized, but their weapons seemed feeble next to the alien technology that hovered above. Fear mixed with anger in the streets. People hid in their homes or crowded shelters, clutching loved ones and hoping for a miracle. In the midst of chaos, a small team gathered far underground beneath the ruins of an old missile silo turned emergency bunker. They were scientists, soldiers, and ordinary citizens who refused to bow. Their leader, Colonel Avery, was a stern but fair man who believed in humanity's strength beyond machines. As reports came in about alien scouts disabling cities with strange energy weapons, the team raced to understand their enemy. Satellites showed glimpses of alien life, tall, lean figures with eyes that glowed like fire, moving swiftly and silently. They seemed to communicate without words, their presence as cold and merciless as the metal ships they commanded. The bunker's walls vibrated with distant explosions, and above, cities burned. But deep underground, the team worked feverishly, hacking into alien broadcasts, decoding signals, searching for a weakness. Their only hope lay in cooperation, in combining every bit of knowledge from Earth's greatest minds. Outside, in a shattered city park, a young girl named Leela watched the dark shapes blotting the sky, her small hands clenched into fists. She didn't understand why the world was ending, but she knew one thing: she would not give up. As night fell, a strange silence settled over the planet, a calm before the storm. Then, without warning, the sky erupted with light as the alien ships unleashed a show of power, sending waves of energy that lit up the clouds like a terrible storm of fire. Earth's defenses tried to respond, but their missiles exploded uselessly against the shimmering shields. The people below saw their homes and hopes burn, but from the ashes, the fires of defiance began to glow. The bunker's leader spoke through crackling radios, urging every soul to stand firm, to fight back with every ounce of strength they had. Somewhere in the distance, a signal flared, an encrypted message from an alien voice that broke the silence with a threat so clear it chilled the bones: submit or be destroyed. But humans are never so simple. In the darkness, plans formed, alliances built, and the first flicker of rebellion took shape. The arrival was only the beginning, and Earth's story was far from over. After the terrifying arrival of the alien fleet and their brutal warning to surrender, Earth found itself teetering on the edge of despair. But deep beneath the ruins of what once were thriving cities, a new hope began to burn quietly but fiercely. The people who refused to kneel formed secret groups, scattered like sparks in the darkness, sharing stolen information and gathering what little resources remained to fight back. Colonel Avery and his team in the underground bunker were no longer alone. Across the planet, scientists, engineers, and brave volunteers worked day and night, desperate to unlock the secrets of the alien technology they managed to capture from skirmishes and downed scouts. The aliens' weapons were unlike anything Earth had seen before: energy beams that melted steel, shields that shimmered like ghosts, and ships that moved with unnatural speed. But humans were clever, adaptable, and fueled by a fierce determination to protect their home. In hidden labs, the scientists mixed human ingenuity with alien parts, building new devices that could interfere with the invaders' communication signals and disrupt their shields. Resistance fighters, once ordinary civilians, transformed into soldiers armed with these new tools, striking small but sharp blows against the alien supply routes, blowing up fuel depots and ambushing patrols with tactics the aliens did not expect. The world outside the bunkers was harsh and dangerous. Cities were empty shells, skies choked with smoke, and every shadow could hide an enemy. Yet, in this broken world, stories of daring raids and narrow escapes spread quickly, lighting a fire in the hearts of the oppressed. People who had been crushed by fear found courage, joining the fight despite the danger. Leela, the young girl who had witnessed the sky darken, now ran messages between rebel groups, her eyes bright with purpose. The aliens began to notice the growing resistance, sending larger forces to crush these sparks before they could become flames. But every time they attacked, they met with fierce human will and clever traps. Colonel Avery knew the road ahead was long and filled with sacrifice. But he believed in one thing: humanity's spirit was their greatest weapon. Every night, when the world seemed silent and broken, the underground bunker buzzed with activity, new plans, new weapons, and new hope. The humans learned to fight, not just with firepower, but with patience and wit, striking when the enemy least expected and disappearing before retaliation. Yet, tension hung heavy. Every success brought harsher alien reprisals. Every victory a reminder of what was at stake. The resistance understood that their small victories were not just about survival, but about sending a message to the invaders. Earth would not kneel quietly. Slowly, the alien commanders grew wary. Their vast technology and numbers gave them confidence, but the human defiance was unpredictable, wild, and relentless. The aliens had thought this world would fall easily, but they underestimated the power of hope, the strength found in unity, and the fierce pride that comes from fighting for home. From the ruined streets to the hidden bunkers, from the battered cities to the scorched countryside, humanity's spark of defiance grew brighter every day, preparing for the firestorm to come. The war for Earth had entered a darker, more dangerous phase as the alien forces, furious at the growing human resistance, unleashed their devastating power in a relentless campaign of destruction, turning cities to ash and skies to fire, leaving behind nothing but ruins and shadows where light once thrived. The once hopeful resistance now faced the brutal reality of facing an enemy that seemed unstoppable, whose weapons burned like the sun and whose soldiers moved with terrifying speed and precision. But even as the world burned, humanity refused to surrender, instead retreating into the ruins, where fighters learned to use the broken buildings, underground tunnels, and scorched forests as hiding places and battlegrounds, turning the invaders' strength into their weakness by striking from the shadows and vanishing before the alien patrols could respond. Amidst the devastation, A new kind of warrior emerged, people who had lost everything but found strength in their loss, who knew every alley and ruined street like the back of their hands, and who struck with fierce determination, using hit-and-run tactics that the aliens could neither predict nor fully counter. Colonel Avery's command bunker became the nerve center for coordinating these scattered attacks, using intercepted alien signals and stolen technology to plan strikes that disrupted the alien supply chains and communication networks. But with every victory came a heavier cost as the aliens retaliated with brutal bombardments that turned neighborhoods into graveyards and forced survivors deeper underground or into the wilderness. In one harrowing raid, a small squad led by Lieutenant Ramos infiltrated an alien outpost, disguised beneath a city hospital, risking everything to steal data that revealed the locations of alien command centers. But the mission nearly failed when they were discovered, forcing a desperate escape through collapsing tunnels and burning streets, leaving many wounded and some lost forever. Meanwhile, above the surface, the sky was a constant battlefield, with alien drones scanning for rebels and human fighters, launching makeshift rockets and electromagnetic pulses to bring them down. Dangerous game of cat and mouse played in the clouds and rubble. In the shadow of these firestorms, civilians struggled to survive, scavenging for food, medicine, and shelter, while sharing whispered stories of hope and loss around hidden fires, their spirits refusing to break despite the horrors around them. Older and hardened by loss, became a symbol of the new resistance, a messenger, a fighter, and a beacon for those who needed hope in the darkest hours, her courage inspiring others to join the fight even when it seemed all was lost. Yet the aliens, growing frustrated by their inability to crush the rebellion, began deploying new horrors, mechanical beasts that hunted without mercy, energy storms that scorched entire forests, and psychological weapons designed to break the will of humans. But instead of fear, these horrors only steeled the resistance's resolve. The battle was no longer just for land or survival, but for the very soul of Earth, a war waged in fire and shadow where every victory was earned with blood, and every defeat tested the limits of endurance. Deep in the command bunker, Colonel Avery knew the key to turning the tide lay not in brute force, but in exploiting the alien command network's weakness discovered in the stolen data. But the plan to strike it was dangerous and required precise timing, coordination, and sacrifices that weighed heavily on every soldier and scientist as the resistance prepared for what could be their most daring operation yet. The world outside burned on, but beneath the ash and smoke, the fire of rebellion roared louder than ever, a promise that humanity would not fall quietly, and that even in the deepest shadows, the brightest fires burn. The time had finally come for humanity to take a stand in a battle that would decide the fate of Earth. As the resistance prepared for an attack on the heart of the alien command fleet orbiting high above the planet, a force so strong and well guarded it seemed untouchable. Yet the humans had no choice but to try. After months of careful planning, repairing alien tech, and gathering forces from every corner of the broken world, the resistance launched their strike in the cold silence of space, with fighter ships crafted from scavenged materials and powered by hybrid human-alien energy, weaving through enemy defenses in a daring attempt to cripple the alien leadership below on Earth. The tension was unbearable, every moment stretched thin as people waited, hoping their friends and family fighting above would succeed, knowing failure would mean the end of their world. The battle in space was a fierce, chaotic dance of light and fire. with explosions tearing through the darkness as human pilots, many young and inexperienced, flew with desperate courage, attacking massive alien cruisers and dodging waves of energy blasts that could tear their fragile ships apart inside the command bunker. Every moment, coordinating with fighters, patching through orders and encouragements, praying for a miracle back on the surface. Resistance fighters launched attacks on alien outposts to draw forces away from the orbital battle, creating chaos that stretched the alien forces thin. As the fighting raged on, a breakthrough came when one of the human engineers managed to hack into the alien command system, sending a virus that disrupted communications and caused confusion among the alien fleet, giving the human pilots a critical edge. Yet the victory was costly. Many ships were lost, brave pilots never returning home, and the alien commanders retaliated fiercely, sending reinforcements that pushed the battle to the edge. In the thick of the fight, Lila, now a seasoned pilot, found herself face to face with an alien ace, their ships locked in a deadly chase that tested every skill she had learned. But with quick thinking and courage, she outmaneuvered her enemy, delivering a blow that helped turn the tide. As the alien command ship's defenses faltered, the resistance launched a final, desperate strike, a concentrated blast of hybrid energy weapons that shattered the alien flagship, sending shockwaves through the fleet and forcing a retreat. The victory was not absolute, for many dangers remained, but it was the first real sign that Earth's defenders could fight and win. Against overwhelming odds, on the ground, cheers rose from those who had waited in fear and hope, while tears flowed for those lost. The battle for Earth was far from over, but the spirit of resistance had been proven stronger than the fear that once gripped the world, and as the sun rose on a battered planet, humanity stood taller, ready to face whatever came next with fire in their hearts and unity in their souls. The alien fleet's retreat left Earth scarred and silent, the air heavy with smoke, and the cries of those mourning lost homes and loved ones. But amid the ruins and ashes, a powerful new hope began to grow as humanity refused to be broken. Cities lay in rubble, forests were charred black, and the skies, once blue, still bore the scars of firestorms. But survivors emerged from underground shelters and hidden refuge, stepping into a world that was both fragile and full of promise, ready to rebuild and reclaim their planet. Colonel Avery walked through the devastated streets of what was once a thriving metropolis, his heart heavy with the weight of sacrifice, but fierce with determination, knowing the fight was far from over, because even though the alien commanders had fled, their shadow lingered like a threat that could return at any time. The resistance, now transformed from scattered rebels into an organized force, set up new bases, sharing knowledge, resources, and hope, teaching people how to defend themselves and prepare for the future. While scientists work tirelessly to restore technology, repair communication networks, and study the alien equipment left behind, seeking ways to protect Earth better than before, Lilia, who had grown from a frightened child into a fierce leader, traveled from settlement to settlement, inspiring those she met with stories of courage and resilience, reminding them that Earth's true strength was not in machines or weapons, but in the unbreakable spirit of its people. Villages once isolated began to connect again, trading supplies and information, weaving a new web of alliance and cooperation that spread like wildfire across continents. Yet, the scars ran deep. There were those who had lost faith, who feared the aliens would return stronger, and others who struggled with grief and anger, threatening to tear the fragile peace apart. But through it all, voices of reason and hope worked tirelessly to heal wounds, build trust, and create a future where Earth would never again be caught unprepared. Meanwhile, the Resistance monitored the stars, aware that the alien threat might one day return, but they were no longer the helpless prey of before. New defense systems stood ready, armed with both human ingenuity and the powerful technology recovered from the enemy. While training camps turned ordinary people into warriors ready to defend their world with every ounce of strength they possessed. In quiet moments, when the fires had dimmed and the skies cleared, people looked up at the stars not with fear, but with resolve, knowing their planet was a symbol of resistance, a place that had faced the darkest shadow and survived. As children played among the ruins, laughter began to echo again, a sound that told of life, hope, and a future earned through pain and courage. And somewhere deep in the rebuilt command center, Colonel Avery and Lila stood side by side, watching the sunrise paint the horizon with golden light, knowing that Earth had risen from the ashes stronger than ever, a beacon of defiance shining across the galaxy, reminding all who watched that no force could force Earth to kneel without answering with fire.